Well, welcome to the Gavin and the Games. I appreciate being here. You know the bad news about it. By the way, that was good Sir Alex Plox, who's actually going to be changing his name a little bit. I mean, it's still Alex, but he's going to be doing music under different names. He's got a lot of new stuff coming pretty soon, but that was Alex. You can find him in a bunch of his albums, which are all very cool and synthy, as well as he's in a great band called, I'm wondering, it's Circus by the Sea, but I'm remembering what the last album he did was. Good stuff. Check him out in the link tree. Welcome to Gavin and Games on Sunday. Last of Us Sunday is what it's going to be called. Assuming the show's as good as everybody says. I'll be on a show tomorrow night with the horror, just one of the best horror YouTube channels in the world. Cody Leach, you probably know who he is. I cannot tell you, because we're going to be talking about it. He's having me come on the show and a special guest, which I cannot tell you this person's name. But when he told me today, I'm like, oh my God, oh my fucking God. I'm excited. I got to be sure not to fanboy out. But anyway, we'll be talking about that tomorrow. But tonight we'll be watching the show. And then right after we'll be doing a special stream, just talk back live for an hour after the show to kind of just have people call in on their phone on the Discord, tell people what you think about the show. Let's discuss it. Let's debate it. So that's happening as well. Listen to this. Nathan Nelson says, I've got the day off of work. It's pouring rain. I'm cozy on the couch with blankets and Jaffe's live. Hell yeah. Let me tell you something. I don't know where you live, sir, but I want to show you what I did last night. So hang on. I got to get something. 1 minute. Where'd I put it? Hang on. Okay. So last night, I'm talking to a friend, and she is, she's saying pretty much what you're saying. She's like, it's raining, and it's all cozy, and I've got my PJs on, and I was just like, you know what? I don't have any cozy clothes. I need some cozy clothes. So I go onto the internet, and I find the Comfy. I'd never seen it before, and it's too hot now, but I bought this goddamn wearable blanket. And I'm like, I'm going to sit and stream in this thing, and I'm going to watch The Last of Us in this thing tonight. Oh, I love it, but it's too fucking hot, man. Too fucking hot. Anyway, the point is we got a super chat coming in. Then we will get right to the news. Lieutenant Lettuce of the Connecticut Lettuces says, any character stories in Twisted Metal you didn't have time to include? Thank you for the super chat, buddy. Whew, Lordy, that's an interesting question. I mean, I'd have to go back and look at our notes. I can tell you that the original Twisted Metal Black stories kind of almost sort of we started thinking might be more live CG than they were, meaning like less still images and told, so we did cut a lot of that stuff. But in terms of stories, not really. No, not really, because it was planned and worked on so goddamn often and for such a long haul that any story element we liked, we just ended up sticking it somewhere else. So no, not really, but thank you for the super chat. Greetings, Spectre Bull. Good to see you. How about Other M, like Other Metroid? What about it? I'm using Federation Force as a main IP. What? Oh, he's talking to somebody else. Okay, gotcha. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Let us begin. Let me tell you what's going on in the world of the video games. I appreciate you being here with me on Sunday. As Jay-Z says, you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me. I appreciate that. Tonight, of course, as you know, hey, that's not the right screen. Where's the right screen? Did I kill the screen? Well, fuck, Jaffe. You're really... Hang on. So as you probably know, this evening, we have... The Last of Us is finally premiering on the HBO. There we go. Let's get the camera on. I thought I had this set up already. I'm so sorry, you guys. There we go. This is premiering tonight on HBO Max, coming on at 6 o'clock Pacific time. Everyone who has seen it, and I've talked to about 3 people, have said that it's great. Now, I'm coming to it kind of on the fence because I didn't really like the first Last of Us. I loved the second Last of Us until it got to Abby, which I had no problem with the Abby character. I just didn't like the pacing of the game. It pulled me out and I haven't gone back and finished it. But The Last of Us 1 I thought was very kind of, just kind of ripping off a bunch of other shit that I'd already seen done better, like No Country and the Road and The Fog, or is it The Fog or The Mist, the Stephen King story that was directed by Darabont. But The Last of Us 2 kind of became its own thing, and I really, really did enjoy that story. So this is on tonight. I'm eager to watch, and I'm eager to talk with you guys right after. Last of Us 2 was just eclipsed by Elden Ring as the game that has the most Game of the Year award wins. Now, that may even get bigger, or it may kind of, the balance to the force may be resumed or returned to the way it was because this next news story. But first, let me tell you, Highlander 001, thank you, buddy. He says, hey, he drops in a super chat. I appreciate it. He says, hey, I'm an Air Force vet. Thank you for your service, sir. Isn't that annoying when people say it? Like, what are you supposed to say? Let me ask you something first before I even read your question, Highlander. When you're in the service, I just assume people saying things like what I do is if I see military people eating at a Denny's or where I'm at, I'll pay for their meal. That feels correct to me. But just to say thank you for your service feels a little easy and hollow and disingenuous. Regardless, though, Highlander says I'm an Air Force vet. And my cousin named his tank Sweet Tooth. Are you shitting me? Your cousin can name tanks and you named it Sweet Tooth? And had an evil clown painted on it during Desert Storm. That was his favorite game. Do you have a picture? Are you telling me that our boy Sweet Tooth went overseas and fought for freedom? Is that what you're telling me, sir? If so, that's amazing. I love hearing that. I'm glad you made it back okay. I hope your cousin's okay. More importantly, though, I'm glad everybody's in one piece, hopefully. But that's amazing to me that Sweet Tooth was over there representing the imperialism of America. But that said, I don't blame the military for that. Come on now, you guys you're doing God's work, assuming there is a God, which let's be clear, there's not. But you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Thank you for the super chat. And please send me a goddamn picture. I would love to see a picture. It's a good point, though. Van says, wasn't Desert Storm before Twisted Metal came out? He might mean the second one, because you're right. I was in college during Desert Storm 1, but we were in development of God of War during the sequel, Desert Storm 2, take people's oil and kill civilians harder. Come on. I'm not blaming the military. I'm really not. I'm blaming Bush and Cheney and Obama and all these people. But I'd love a picture if it's true. Salvador, what are you talking? Don't be spreading that bullshit. Be spreading that. I'm not even going to read that. Okay, listen. The Iraq War. Right. And then where'd he go? He went away. I want to see a picture of this goddamn thing, Highlander. But that's cool. It's great to hear. It's a great story, and I appreciate it, buddy. Okay. But this is why I think that The Last of Us 2, maybe there's a chance for it to get back. No, I guess not. I guess there's only a chance for Elden Ring. Here's the point about awards. Look, God of War, Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West lead the DICE 2023 awards. Here's the big story that everybody should care about. I don't care about this shit anymore. I just don't care. If you look at these nominations, they're just so gross. I mean, nothing's wrong with any of these games. Their Game of the Year nom is Elden Ring, God of War, Ragnarok, Forbidden West, Horizon, Stray, and Vampire Survivors. They got some indies in there. They got some double A's in there. They got the top of the food chain in there. I got it. I appreciate it. But it's just so false and phony that I just can't get excited by them anymore. And I don't mean I want them. Yeah, like Spectre says, they're predictable nominations in the chat. He says, I'm not saying I want them to go outside the box just for the sake of going outside the box. It's just such a, you know what it is, fellas? It represents to me just a continuation of the same old conservative thinking. We want to be like the Oscars. We want to throw in some quirky categories so we're not accused of just being publisher run. It's like none of it feels genuine to me. There was an award show last night on YouTube from King Thrash. Now, King Thrash and his podcast and I we don't tend to get along all that well. He seems like a decent fellow, but whatever. We run in different circles and we have very, very different opinions about things. But that said, I was skimming through it when it was live. I was glancing at it while I was playing some games last night, Marvel Snap mostly. And he was just like, here's an award for the best Xbox fan. I'm like, even though those are tiny little awards, I'm like, you know what, though? That's a genuine award. That's a genuine goddamn cockadoodie award, and I appreciated that. But this stuff, I'm just... So if you're curious, though, yes, I will be streaming it. The DICE awards are out. The nominees are out. The full list is available today or a couple days ago. It'll be on February 23rd, and I will be streaming it. But you know what? Whatever. And whatever. And then Greg Miller is hosting, and there's this lady who's hosting that I don't know who she is. And I'm just like, really? Come on, you guys. Stop wishing you were something you're not and embrace what you are, God damn it. Highlander, thank you for the super chat. He says, my uncle was a candy shop owner, and he called my cousin Sweet Tooth. Clown was painted on as he could not have a girl in her bikini. Thank you for the super chat. But wait a minute. You're cut. So it wasn't, was it supposed, okay, it was supposed to be Sweet Tooth from the Twisted Metal video game. But what I'm saying is, do you have a picture of it? And you don't need to pay me to tell me. You can just chat. I appreciate it. Thank you for the ducats, buddy. But I'm just curious if there's a picture your cousin has of it. Seeing as how games are patches nowadays for months or years after release, the premise of ranking them yearly is even less relevant, says Ashton. I mean, that's a good point. It's all bullshit. It's all, you know what I think about this shit. It's all bullshit. I think it's dumb, but it'll be fun to watch it and make fun of it. Okay. I want to talk briefly about Hogwarts and how it relates to Nintendo, because for some reason, maybe because the game is getting closer to shipping. And Nathan, I see your chat. Just hit me up later in this stream with that, because I want to stay on this train of thought. So maybe because Hogwarts Legacy is getting closer to shipping is the reason that people are starting to drum up the anti-trans statements of Rowling again. Now, look, I am a huge LGBT supporter. I think a lot of what what's her face Rowling says about LGBT or trans specifically is damaging and wrong. I think she has a right to her opinion, and she has a right to express her opinion, of course. But I think she's there's something else going on there with her, because she seems really in the weeds on this. And it's like, what buttons are being pushed, J.K. Rowling, by this particular issue? But that aside, she has a right to her opinion. Okay. And then I guess today there was this guy, I'll read you the headline. I don't know who he is. Heartstopper Sebastian Croft, never heard of him. I guess he was in the Harry Potter motion picture shows, has addressed the backlash he received over his upcoming role in the Harry Potter video game Hogwarts Legacy. The actor 21 has often been supportive. This is from Daily Mail in the UK. He's often been supportive of the LGBT community. Said in a tweet on Saturday, he signed up for the project long before he was aware of J.K. Rowling's views. And then he goes on to say, he's like, look, I was cast in this project 3 years ago, back when Harry Potter to me, all it was this magical world that I grew up in. And it was never a thing. I didn't know about Rowling's views then. He says, I'm really sorry to anyone hurt by this announcement. There is no LGB without the T. Okay. So there you go. And I've talked about this in the past. My son, who's my trans son, and I talked about this. I says, hey, what do you think about the Harry Potter game? He says, yeah, I don't care if you buy it or not. He says, do we have any evidence that J.K. Rowling directly donates her money to anti-trans causes? And I said, I don't believe there's any evidence of that. It's not like Chick-fil-A where you can literally trace the 20 cents that they donate to various groups. And out of that 20 cents, 5 cents goes to a specific camp that tries to do, what do they call it? When they send you to a camp and you say you're gay and they're like, no, let's pray the gay away. One of those things. There's no evidence she does that. She just got a stupid opinion, in my opinion. And he's like, don't worry. I don't care. I'm like, all right, cool. And it looks good. I'm going to pick it up. Okay. But it continues to fester. It continues to be an issue. And the reason I'm curious about it, is that there was news this week that Nintendo, and I guess the real answer is I'm only faking curiosity, because the truth is, because people are hypocrites and they just like to make themselves feel like they're virtuous. But in truth, if they really did their fucking research and homework and stopped just living in echo chambers, they'd realize that there are a lot bigger fish to fry. Here's one of them. Nintendo is owned in 6%. Saudi Arabia has raised their government fund from 5.1 or whatever to 6% of ownership of Nintendo. Does that give them control? No. But it's the Public Investment Fund. It is a wealth fund of Saudi Arabia. It is among the largest sovereign wealth funds in the world. It's estimated to be at $620 billion. Out of that $620 billion, and the whole reason they created it was investing funds on behalf of the government of Saudi Arabia. Okay. So Nintendo's got a bunch of great games coming out soon, not the least of which is Breath of the Wild 2, whatever, Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, what have you. Why aren't people raising hell about that? J.K. Rowling makes money off every single Harry Potter item. So don't kid yourself if people say she's not going to make any money. No, she is. When I went to Halloween Horror Nights, we were in the Harry Potter land and we bought that butterbean coffee, whatever the fuck it was. And I don't know, it was a $5 cup of coffee and she probably got a quarter. I don't fucking know what her deal is. But so she will make money for every copy of Harry Potter sold. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. But so will Saudi Arabia. Everything that Nintendo sells this year, if you spend money on Nintendo products, you are directly funding. J.K. Rowling has bad opinions. She doesn't do anything about them. Saudi Arabia is a horrible human rights violation. You think they're friendly to the LGBT folks over there? They use torture as punishment. They have more executions. There's no free speech. I know in that region, I don't know if Saudi Arabia is one of them, where they say they basically execute people simply for being gay. Women are totally discriminated against over there, but for some reason, it's okay to buy Nintendo products. It's okay to buy. How is that Nintendo bread? It's Breader Decide says, how is that Nintendo? It's more Nintendo than Hogwarts Legacy is J.K. Rowling. Because if you're basically saying I would love to play the Harry Potter game, but I'm walking away from it because I don't want to support the hateful views of J.K. Rowling. Okay, understood. I don't think people should be silenced for having stupid views, but her views are stupid. But whatever. But if you're basically saying you don't want to support with your finances by buying products from companies that are in bed with these bad people, you don't want to support that, then you have to say the same thing about Nintendo. You have to say that every dollar I spend or every game I buy, there's a percentage that goes not just to fund a company in Saudi Arabia that may have ties into the government. You literally are putting your money into, at least 6% of it, a fund that is owned and set up by the Saudi Arabian government with the express intent, with the express purpose of investing funds for the government. Okay? You want to pay your cops to go out and round up the women who are, breaking decency laws or whatever? Not a problem. This guy just bought Tears of the Kingdom. Let's take 6% of what he paid from his job working somewhere in America and make sure this cop who's going to throw a bunch of gay people off the roof is able to get paid for what he's doing. Eric Lennon says every dollar you spend on anything is going to a bad guy's pocket. You're not wrong. I'm not saying I'm not going to buy Nintendo. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I don't know why the buck seems to stop with J.K. Rowling. Like, why is this the battle a lot of these folks have chosen to fight? I am a staunch supporter of LGBT folks. I have a son who's trans. I have a brother who's gay. I had an uncle who's gay. I'll fight the fight. Trans rights are human rights. All of them. All rights. But certainly trans rights are human rights. But I'm just kind of going, okay, if we're going to fight the fight, then we need to, there's a lot of bigger targets out there. Brad says, I think it's because Rowling is one person. It's easier to point at her. Saudi Arabia is broad. Yeah, but that's the problem. Oh shit. I'm so sorry about these things. I got to fix that. I'll turn those off. I'm sorry. That's the problem, is that these people should be fucking ashamed of themselves because they're going after the easy shit. I'm not saying you don't have a right to be upset with J.K. Rowling. I don't like what she said either. I don't like what a lot of people say who put art out in the world that I like, but you are just sort of virtue signaling. And I hate that accusation because a lot of times it's bullshit. Nothing's wrong with being virtuous. But in this case, it seems very disingenuous that this is the battle you're willing to fight, but you're not really willing to open your mind and research and look into much bigger targets where your money is directly going to harm people. That's what I would fucking say. That's what I would fucking say. Dan Root says, separate the art from the artist. Why can't we do that? Well, we can. I am. I mean, that Rowling guy who does High on Life and Rick and Morty and all that shit just got, they secretly settled a sexual assault case at his company. And then he was arrested, I guess in 2020 for domestic abuse. The fact of the matter is I unless the money I spend is directly going to harm other people, I have gotten to the point where I think I haven't missed anybody's super chats. I'm going to go back. Rowling does not. The point is, I lost my train of thought. I was looking at like 5 different chats at one time. What was I saying? Separating the art from the artist. Yeah, I have gotten to the point where I'm like, look, most art that we appreciate is probably made by broken people to begin with, because you don't make art unless you're hurting inside for the most part. That's honestly one of the reasons I think a lot of people create their shit that's amazing in their 20s and 30s. And then assuming that it works and they make money and they get their shit together because they've got all this privilege now, their life is kind of settled more. But I don't think you can appreciate, again, not to make this the Jay-Z quote show, but he says, my pain, your entertainment. I don't think you can make art that really connects with the world unless you have suffered. Tripster says, when you made God of War, you were broken inside. I was certainly broken in ways. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Rowling says Cosmo does not have an opinion. She is an active funder. So, okay, well, show me. Okay, Cosmo, that's different. Send me a link right now and show me evidence that J.K. Rowling has taken her money and she has funded anti-trans causes. And if that's the case, then I will defer to my son's logic, which is if the money you're spending goes to Rowling and Rowling has proven that she sends that money directly to campaigns or people who harm trans folks, that's different. Absolutely, I won't buy it then. But you're going to have to cough up some fucking evidence of that, because I haven't seen that. I have not seen that. Let me get some of the super chats, see what you guys are talking about. Ahmed, thank you, buddy. He's been a member of the Gods of War, the biggest goddamn membership you can be. This motherfucker is money bags. He says, Jaffe, this goes both ways. As a Muslim, should I boycott all art created by people who are pro-abortion? That would create isolated civilizations. As a let me make sure I get it. As a Muslim, because Muslims, I assume, are anti-abortion, should you boycott all art created by, all people who are pro-abortion? Well, no one's pro-abortion. First, let's be clear. People are pro-choice or anti-choice. But that said, though, again, if I told you, Ahmed, that your money, if I was pro-choice, which I am, and you currently are giving me money every month, you're giving me $50 of your money. Okay. If you knew that money was going to support a doctor who did abortions in states where it was illegal in America, which it's not, but if it was, and I would have no problem with that, I would donate money to that guy. If I knew there was a cause like that you could do, I would have no problem with you saying, I'm not going to give you my money. But since there's no evidence that we just have a difference of opinion, I agree with you. I don't think you boycott things because people have different opinions. I think you boycott things when your money directly goes to, in your mind anyway, harm other people. Absolutely. I would be down with that. I would respect that position. If you said, yeah, I can't give any more money, Jeffy, I get it. Scott Woodford says WWE might be sold to Saudi Arabia. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's really the case. I heard that that's now a rumor. I heard that it's actually, believe it or not, I've been saying this for a while, that Disney is in the conversation. And I honestly think Disney would be a better home for the WWE. I understand what you're going to say. A lot of people are going to say, but I think AEW, I think there is a market out there for adult-themed wrestling where it's bloody and they cut themselves and it's overtly over-the-top sexual. I would love that show. I would love to watch a product from a wrestling company that just, I mean, hell, what somebody sent me, I forget who it was in the chat, sent me a video of a wrestling event that occurs once a year in some middle America thing where they're literally, it's not fake. I mean, they're beating the shit out of each other with barbed wire bats and lighting tubes, and it's crazy. I'm in. I'm in as long as it's legal. But I think Disney takes that brand and they really could do a lot more with it, with the characters and the writing and the stories, whether it's Disney or ESPN. I would much rather it go to Disney. If it goes to Saudi Arabia, I will never watch it again. I will never fucking watch it again. Luca, thank you, buddy. He's been a member for 16 goddamn months. He's a key contributor to our Discord, and he's a good fellow. Listen, he says, Ahmed, no. Because if you want to hurt women by calling it religious rights, you're the one who should be boycotted. Well, again, I agree with Luca's position, but I also support everyone's right to have a position. But I hear you. I'm just here for the discussion. I don't like Harry Potter, says Wooden, because its world and characters don't interest me. I'm stoked for the new Zelda game. I understand. Yeah, 2D Realms, you're not wrong. Well, that's not entirely true, but it's true enough to be worth discussing. 2D Realms says all American corporate taxes go to fund their war machine. That's not true, but a lot of them fucking do. A lot of them fucking do. And you're right. You're absolutely right. But as an American, when I pay taxes, I know the deal is that I don't get to pick and choose where the taxes go. So sometimes they go, to help I don't like that churches and temples and mosques don't have to pay taxes. But you know what? I also like that my taxes do pay for roads and firefighters and things like that. So, Disney does not even write good stuff, says Brandon, for properties in their element. I just don't agree with you. I'm not going to get into the whole Disney thing. We're going to move on to a different topic, but I'm sorry. I don't agree with you. I like Marvel. I like Star Wars. I like Disney. I don't know when, and maybe it's just a generational thing. I don't fucking know. But I don't know where Disney crossed a line where suddenly if what they put out is not an Oscar nominated, brilliant classic, then it's crap. Is Ant-Man and the Wasp, whatever the last one, the second one, the world's greatest movie? Of course not. Of course not. But it's as good as watching the Apple Dumpling Gang Rides Again when I was a kid, or The Cat from Outer Space. It's a fucking movie. It's still got superheroes in it that shrink down and run around in bathtubs and have ants try to fucking kill them and shit. I don't know what people, it's like, does every fucking thing you watch have to be an Oscar contender? I mean, I just, maybe because people's time is so spread these days, the younger generation didn't come up with I mean, I don't know. I just, they have so much choice that they can pick and choose and go, well, if I'm going to watch a movie, or I'm going to play a game, or I'm going to read a book, it better be one of the top 10 of the year. And I get it. There's more content now. But I just don't agree. DVN says Disney stuff has sucked for a while. No, it hasn't. Can you point to Disney stuff that's bad? Sure. Can you point to Disney? You think Turning Red was a bad movie? You thought Andor or Mandalorian or Hawkeye were bad TV shows? I mean, whatever. I mean, I support your opinion, but I ain't going to agree with it. What's Turning Red? Turning Red is the Pixar movie that came out last year. It was fantastic. Oh yeah, we had Flight of the Navigator too, Nathan. Let me show you one more thing before we move on. I do want, and don't fucking come at me about Saudi Arabia being, all you need to do is go, somebody in the chat is saying, I think it's Ahmed saying, oh, Saudi Arabia is not North Korea. No, they're not North Korea. But you know what? If you go look at their human rights violations, just go Google the 10 ways Saudi Arabia violates human rights from Amnesty International. Does America violate human rights? Of course. Every country does. It's horrible, but not to the extent. Saudi Arabia is one of the worst human rights violators on the planet. If you don't agree with that, there's evidence. Either that or you don't agree with the definition of human rights violations, which is, fine, is what it is. Listen, I want to show you one more thing, then we're going to talk about video games again. Redfall we're going to start with. We're going to get into some amazing design news that dropped this week. Some wisdom. I know a lot of people watch this show who want to make video games. You're about to hear two amazing designers drop some of the smartest things ever said about commercial video games. I'm going to get to that in just a second, but I want to show you this first. This might be one of the reasons my generation is grateful for any Marvel we can get. When I was a wee lad of probably 3, 5, 8, I used to love this show, The Electric Company, which was kind of a little bit more of a grown-up version of Sesame Street. And they had a deal with Marvel, and they had The Amazing Spider-Man. Well, this is what we got, and we were grateful. You've never seen me run so fast in my life when I heard the theme song of this coming on, and I would pound down the steps from probably 3 flights up. We had like a pretty tall house just to see Spider-Man. Okay, so check out your screen right now. This is what my Spider-Man live action looked like when I was a wee lad. Come the fuck on. So you know what? I'm sorry if the motivation for Yelena in Hawkeye episode 6 isn't just perfect, but I had to put up with this shit. So fuck off. And I still loved it. Okay. Let me see. Legend, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says, Jeffy, what do you think about James Gunn extending Ezra Miller's contract, but getting rid of all the other stars? Do you think it has to do with money? There's no way to know. It could be that they've looked at an early cut of Flash and they've talked to Ezra Miller, the guy who plays the Flash, and they go, look, you have got to calm the fuck down because this movie is awesome and it is a cash fucking cow and we have to make this work, right? Whereas Batgirl, they're probably like, it's not a very good movie, they said, right? So there could be a lot of reasons, Legends, why he's doing what he's doing. Some of it's creative, some of it's money, but none of us really in this chat, certainly as far as I know, have the rights of that data. We don't know. Bretter Decide says Gunn and Ezra both like diddling kids. I mean, if there's evidence of that, sweet, provide it. The only thing we know about James Gunn is some stuff that was sort of off-color jokes. And I think at one point he might have been young and dating a girl who was 17 and a half or 18. The idea that he likes diddling kids, come on, and that was a long time ago and he was very young, like 20. I don't know, but maybe Ezra does. I don't fucking know. We'll talk about East West, some of the changes coming this year in video games in terms of predictions. Okay. All right, hang on. I'm looking at the chat real quick. Well, I appreciate that. Brawlmaster says, I love you so much, Papa Jaffe. You make my days so much better. I love you. I love you back. Let's make a baby and go to the sock hop. Thank you, buddy. Okay, here we go. Godspeed, this is what I'm saying. What's wrong with people? Godspeed says, Ezra's Flash is trash. You've seen him in one movie, and you may be right. Give him a minute. Watch the movie or don't, but that's probably what's going on. I assure you, if they've had a rough cut of the Flash and they're like, dude, this is rubbish, you think they would continue? They'd go, But it would be like Keanu Reeves coming out as being a very troubled guy 6 months before The Matrix is supposed to come out. You think Warner Brothers is going to cancel The Matrix? They'll figure out a way to kind of just do the damage control and put that cash cow out. You think these people are noble? You think these executives care? Come on. They might emotionally care, but not from their business. Listen to this. I'm a little excited by this. Truth of the matter is I'm a little excited by this. They don't care. Real life, they only care in so much. Real life says they do care. They only care in as much as it affects the bottom line. They don't care. Like the guy who makes the decisions may go home at night and complain to their spouse. Hello, Doge, good to see you, buddy. I made video games with Doge for a while. They may go home at night and complain to their spouse, man, my business is so rough. In order to make the money and hit the numbers, I have to do some things that are morally problematic to me. They might care in that way. But the idea that they care any other way, that if you care, you don't do it. I hear you, Real Life, but it helps not to break things up. Real Life says, I said it was about the money. So Real Life writes, they do care. And then there's like 8 lines of chat. And then he finishes his sentence that says, about the money. Well, forgive me for not waiting until you've finished your thought that's been broken up, between 8 other people's thoughts. Wooden's Throne, thank you, buddy. He says, did you see where Limited Run Games fired the community manager over tweets from 2016 because someone went back to her tweets, but the accuser has past tweets saying it's okay to sleep with kids? Well, here's the deal. First off, thank you for the super chat. It's very generous, very kind, very appreciated. Second, you gotta know the best way, and again, I don't want to give you advice, but if I were to give you advice, and not that you need it, but based on this tweet, you might, the best way to wake up in the morning before you even look at the news is to assume that no one is the cartoon character villain that you think they are. Okay. So I know all about that story. We talked all about it on the last stream. So if you want to hear my deep opinion, which is basically, I don't agree with a lot of her views, clearly about trans people. Who she follows on Twitter is not indicative of anything. I follow a lot of weirdos on Twitter because I'm curious. Doesn't mean I support their views, but they fired her. Now this is my understanding, which means there could be a bevy of reasons, but the reason that people think, and it was sort of supported a little bit by Limited Games' statement, and that's all they've said, is that they fired her because of those tweets where, what is it now? 7 years ago, about, she made a few statements that were not like, she wasn't using the N word or anything. She was just clearly making her point of view, which I think is stupid, that I don't remember specifically, but it was something about her not supporting trans people or bathrooms or something. And I think she's wrong, but whatever. She has a right to be wrong. But unless she's bringing that into her job, which as far as we could tell, she wasn't, what do I care what she thinks about trans? Is my job, let me tell you something. I would fight King Kong, and I might have a shot at winning, to protect my children, whether it's my cisgender daughter or my trans son. If you come at my kids, and you come at my kids, especially because you're some kind of bigot asshole, I don't know if I could beat King Kong, but I would try it on my dying breath. Okay. But short of that, or short of you using your influence to hurt people, you can think what you want. It's not my job or anyone's job to go around and try to change everybody's fucking mind. But I will say also, if you are talking about the past tweets of the girl who said it's okay to sleep with kids, I just think if you really want to have a discussion about that, and I know this is video game themed, I'm going to get back to games. We're going to talk Redfall in a second. If you really want to have a discussion about that, you need to really look at her tweets, because when you type, it's okay to sleep with kids, it suggests that here's this grown woman who is suggesting if you want to take a 4-year-old into the Holiday Inn off the 12 freeway and be a pedophile, they're okay with that. That's not what they're saying. They're and you don't have to agree with what they're saying, but they're offering an opinion, as I remember it, that said, look, a grown man turned on by a 17-year-old girl is not legal, but it's pretty normal. Is it? I don't know, but I can appreciate that perspective. The idea that if you're 17 and suddenly it's like, it's weird, I have no attraction to this girl, she's a minor. And the next day she has a birthday and she's 18 and suddenly she's in barely legal porn sites. Suddenly I'm like, it's weird. My dick just checked the birth certificate and now it's okay. I think that was her trying to articulate that there's a big difference between, I'm not saying it should be legal. I'm saying that was what her tweet was about. So to paint her as someone just saying it's okay to fuck kids, that's entering the argument without really interest in being truthful, and more interest, in my opinion, no offense, in being right, is what I would say. Okay. The Purple Tinker was saying that underage kids should be able to consent to sex. Again, Darth, we can have a different chat on that on a different show, because I do find that subject absolutely fascinating, because it's tragic that it happens. And I think if we don't really look at it without clutching our pearls, we're never going to stop it. But there was some pedo shit that went down at BronyCon. They co-founded it and they left. And then some pedophile shit went down. She didn't do it. And she went online on record and she regretted it, apologized for it, did whatever she could. But that would be like Bobby Kotick selling Activision. Please let him sell Activision. And then 6 months later, it comes out that somebody at Activision did even worse things than we've already heard. And you're going to blame Bobby Kotick. It's like, well, as much as I hate Bobby Kotick, that he wasn't there when that happened. So, okay. Let's talk games. I mean, that's tangentially related to games, but let's get into the games, man. So Redfall is looking better and better. Redfall, as you probably know, they said, hey, here's your date, motherfuckers. You want a date? Not a problem. May 2nd. I'm looking forward to it. I plan on buying it, or no, I'm not. I'm going to play it for free on Game Pass. It's coming out on May 2nd. There is, and I'm not going to bore you with too much detail. I've already talked a little bit about this. But I want to give you some detail and to explain why I'm excited about this game. Whereas up until this point, I've been like, So there's a great article. I'm going to put it. I really do recommend, if you're even semi-interested in this, giving it a read. Not now, we're doing a show. Giving it a read. From Games Radar, where they talk to the director and the creative head of the studio. Director's a guy named Ricardo Bear, and Harvey Smith, who you must know from Deus Ex and about a lot of the Arcane games. Here's what they said and why I found this absolutely compelling for the first time. I mean, I always thought it looked cool, but I thought, like everybody else, it was Back 4 Blood. It was Left 4 Dead. This is what Harvey Smith says. He says, what if we took, this was the impetus, this was the aha moment. He says, what if we took all of our experience and our core creative values and put it into an open world? The world, this is the reporting now, is where Redfall really diverges from any lingering horde shooter comparisons. Those genre games have a familiar rhythm. Load into a linear mission with friends, get your weapons, fight waves of enemies until the end. Redfall has a broader objective. I'm just going to read you some of this stuff, because close your eyes unless you're driving and imagine this, because this is pretty cool. Redfall has a broader objective, affording you the freedom to linger or fight at your leisure. Since I know there are some people from the UK watching, leisure. Defining the shape of your adventure is part of the appeal. Quote, you're in a big ass open world, enthuses the director. We have a home base where you can talk to NPCs and get side quests. You can go to the mission table and pick up story-driven missions, or you can not give a shit about any of that and just head outside, pick a direction, start hauling ass, and run into the living world stuff that we have going on. By modern open world standards, the island, Redfall, will be quaint by comparison size-wise. There's an appeal in that, with a denser play space allowing Arcane to flex its talent for emergent narrative design. Harvey Smith says, I think we will eventually go back to the very sealed, immersive sim-like environments. But just once, we wanted to know what it would be like to wander an Arcane open world to see where each little off-road takes you. And then they give some examples. You want to see if you can get into a barn you found, climb a fire tower lookout that you spotted in the distance, or try and get into a house to read all the notes inside, Smith continues. Explaining you still have freedom to approach missions, areas, and in-world locations with the same curiosity and ingenuity as in Dishonored or Prey. Some of Redfall's most powerful moments come from wandering, absorbing the world, and getting caught up in a high action for a moment. That's the atmosphere we want. We want you creeping through a cornfield at night in the fog, hearing vampires whisper in the dark. Maybe you'll spot a farmhouse in the distance and sneak to it, only to find it's full of cultists that have trapped a few survivors you can save. That's the vibe Redfall has. So it sounds more and more like it sounds more and more like it really is this cool immersive adventure versus just like, hey, let's get, I'm going to play through it first solo, just like Darth Nugget. I do want to play it with members of the chat after to see sort of how it compares. But I will tell you that after reading this article in Games Radar, which I've linked in this chat, I'm excited. I'm excited. Didn't the devs liken it to Far Cry, Bill Bones? I think they likened it. I don't know if they did or an article did, but I think they likened it to Far Cry in the sense that in that game you can go after a lot of different goals if you want. It's not just a run around with your buddies and shoot vampires. And according to Tripster, they said Far Cry 2, which I haven't played, but I guess that's the benchmark. So, but yeah, I mean, if this is just another Far Cry, I'm not interested. But what they're saying about it in this article, if it's accurate, I'm like, oh, that sounds fucking great. That sounds fucking great. As for what was that game they put out, Time Loop or Loop, whatever the fuck it was, everybody, reviewers loved it. It got Game of the Year nominations. I got bored of it. I got very bored of it. But a lot of people loved it. So maybe it's great. Not my cup of tea. All right, let's move on. But read that article if you're even on the fence about this game. It sounds great. As some of you know, Deathloop is what it was called. Thank you. As some of you know, I'm a big Marvel Snap fan. I just want to give you a little Marvel Snap data, if I could. This was interesting. So if you don't play Marvel Snap, not a problem. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But it's a great fucking game. And if you're not playing it, I want to know why. What the fuck's the problem with you? But that said, though, Kotaku did an article talking to Ben Brode, the lead designer of the game, and they were just curious. They have all this data. They have all this fucking data about what cards get used the most and what cards have the highest win rate, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So Kotaku wrote an article when they asked him, they said, well, what is the most overrated card? Okay. CW, you're a moron. CW says, I'm not playing Marvel Snap because comics are for children. First off, they're not. Comics are a medium. They're not a genre. If you say superhero comics, okay, sure. Maybe they are, not all of them. But ultimately, Marvel Snap has nothing to do with Marvel Comics in a lot of ways. You could basically put anything in there. It's like any kind of game. It's abstraction. Okay, but here's the point. The most overrated card. And I have this card, and I love this card. It's fucking awesome. But he went through all this massive data, according to the article, with the sample size of what must be hundreds of millions of games. The result would be convincingly a poor choice. The most overrated card is Shang-Chi. Oh, what a card. I love this card. But it says, according to the data, Shang-Chi is found in the most losing decks, according to the database. I've read Saga. Doge is good. I haven't finished it, but I don't know if they have finished it, but I read it a couple of volumes. The card that appears most infrequently, but wins the most when it does. Like, I need to rebuild all my fucking decks, man, because I don't have any of these. I mean, I own them, but I don't use them. The card that appears most infrequently, but wins the most. Can you guess the most undervalued card? Is the Human Torch. All the Human Torch does is he starts with 2 points. He's a 1-play card. And when you move him around the levels, he gains a point. I guess that's enough to make a big fucking difference. Second most underrated card is Multiple Man. He gets used a 10th as Cosmo the dog, but has a significantly higher win rate. So I thought that was interesting. Blackcurrant, Iceman Dev says, Jaffe, can you pronounce Blackcurrant? You're going to get betting, right? Yes. Okay, have fun, be safe. Yeah. No, I know. I understand that it's in the UK, there's a thing and they have it. They don't have it over here, whatever. Blackcurrant. I don't fucking know. I don't lose a lot, but what I will tell you, Relski, is that the game has gotten clearly more popular, and playing the game on the weekend, especially in America, a holiday weekend. I have gone from almost breaking 50 to dropping down almost back into the 20s because so many more people are playing that are better than me now. And you've got a lot of people who have free time over the weekend that am almost just like, do not fucking play this game on the weekend if you care about the goddamn rankings. But that said, they're releasing a couple weeks from now the friend versus friend mode. We will be having a Gabbin' Games tournament over on the Discord. So if you're into this game, and you should at least give it a try. Take a look. Okay, I want to talk about some news. We're going to get back to I loved Midnight Suns. It was fucking great, man. Great game. There's been some really clever design statements coming this weekend that I haven't seen a lot of people pick up on, but I want to tell you, this is wisdom. And there's two of them. One comes from Ben Brode, which I'll get to in a minute, who was the designer of Hearthstone as well as Marvel Snap. You know, the story goes that Ben Brode got his job working at Blizzard, I was thinking of the magazine, what's called Blizzard, because he was delivering a pizza there back in the day. And somehow one thing led to another. They hired him. He ended up making Hearthstone. Now he's making this. Isn't that funny how life works out? You think we're in a goddamn simulation. Anyway, point being, the other designer that dropped some very good wisdom was the designer of Mirror's Edge. He goes by Frederick Thylander. I guess his parents gave him that stupid fucking name, whatever. But he's a lead gameplay designer at Ubisoft Massive, who I think are working on the Star Wars game, right? He also worked on Battlefield, Mirror's Edge, The Division. Here's what he says. He says, unpopular opinion. He tweeted this. This is him right here. You can see it on your screen. Here's his unpopular opinion. Achievements and trophies have been bad for gaming. It narrows games down, it disrupts and diverts attention, and it eats resources that could have made the game better. Now, this is why this statement is so important if you're considering going into video games, specifically as a designer, okay? And this statement, in a lot of ways, also drives probably a core philosophy, which is why I don't make great video games anymore, or my last couple of games didn't connect. So let me explain what he's saying. And I'm not saying I agree with him. I'm not saying he is right. Like, look at the chat. It's like, achievements, they're cool. I love they're cool for some, bad for others. They've been great for gamers, says Lando. I like achievements. I like trophies. Cosmo says, I like achievements, but the Mirror's Edge guy is right. Right. So what he's saying is that ultimately, if a game, forget the fact that it eats resources. It does, depending on how advanced the tracking is for the trophy. But, it doesn't have to. But it certainly can. And the fact that the main thing is it disrupts and diverts attention. Now, even if the game consciously put those collectibles in there or those challenges in there, then the game is saying, at a pure design level, we want this meta hanging over your head of, yes, you've got the core game universe, and then there's this 200,000 foot view where you're also like, let me kill guys 10 times with the stealth, right? Well, it's not good for game design. If it was good for game design, it would have been put in the game to begin with. What he's saying is, at a pure level, just like Call of Duty, by the way, Call of Duty is a better game without all the upgrades, without all the unlocks, without all the meta that sits on top of it. Just like chess is a better game because you can't upgrade the rook, right? You can only upgrade the pawn if it gets across the board, but you can't, that's part of the game as well. And so at a pure design philosophy, he's absolutely right. But at a business philosophy, at a sales philosophy, at a joy philosophy of the product you've bought satisfying you, he's absolutely wrong. And I know where I went off the rails with my design philosophy is I just became very dogmatic about design. And that is always the most important thing. And it is in a vacuum. But when you are designing commercial product, there are other things the player values as much more, maybe a little less, but still value, that if you don't put in anymore in these days, if you don't put them in these days, you do so at your own risk, right? So if you look at a game like Uno, okay, I'm just going to take a card game because we're talking Marvel Snap. If you look at a game like Uno or chess or whatever, any board game you play with your friends and family, a lot of times those games are better than multiplayer video games, but you only play them 2, 4, 8 times a year, if that, and you put them away. It doesn't mean they're not brilliant games, but without something sticky to keep pulling you back, your pure game design, as great as it is, might win some awards, but you're not going to make the kind of money you need, certainly in today's market, to justify the budget of these games like Mirror's Edge, Battlefield, and whatnot, right? So any game, really. But so, I'm saying this is wisdom. If you want to make games, it's important not to get into the dogmatic mentality of as long as the game is great, everything else can go fuck itself. That sometimes works, but more and more often, you've got to have both hats on. You've absolutely got to have both hats on. Otherwise, you're going to end up making, let me tell you something, Callisto Protocol. Now, I'm not complaining about Callisto Protocol. Haven't played it, but I know that it has sold less than 2 million copies. They predicted it would sell 5 million copies. Now they're hoping it gets to 2. So it's sold somewhere right now between 1 and 2. And one of the reasons that they cite for it is that the game's too short. Now, there's a lot of other reasons as well they cite, but one of the key reasons was that it's a 6 to 10 hour game. And in that, they're like, look, you're charging $70 for a game that you can basically rent somewhere that you know will drop in price. And so as a designer, I could hear the logic, and I believe in the logic that says you should make the game 5 hours if that's what the game needs to be good. But if you're not budgeting for a 5-hour game and you're not selling it at the price of a 5-hour game, you need to put some fat in there. The designer hates it. The designers hate it, right? But gamers love it up until it gets annoying. Okay. So I'm just saying this comment is loaded with nutrition. It might be boring if you're just a casual game fan or just a fan, but if you think about game design, if you think about the game business, this is loaded with great nutritional design value, because it really speaks to that constant push and pull between business and art in this particular medium. Okay, I want to move on to another one, the one that Ben Brode said. This one's equally fascinating, but very, very different. So Ben Brode, Hearthstone, Kotaku interviewed him, Hearthstone, and obviously, as of late, Marvel Snaps. Okay. It's not Marvel Snaps. I know it's Marvel Snap. Fuck you. I love that game. Okay, but here's what he said. They were interviewing about the game, blah, blah, blah. And the Kotaku interviewer was talking about why didn't this game launch with certain features. I'll just read you the paragraph, okay? And we'll talk about it briefly. People were surprised when a few features were not in the launched version of Marvel Snap. A way to play against friends and a way to play friendly games with no risk of losing cubes, which are the currency in the game. I wanted to know from Brode why neither of these had been seen as priorities to be in place before the official release. Brode says, I wouldn't say they've not been a priority, but in game development, you have to push your dates or crunch or do effective scope control. He says, those are the three levers you have. And the crunch lever is a fake lever. It doesn't actually do anything. You burn everybody out and it doesn't actually give you more stuff over the long term. Short term, he's wrong, but long term, he's absolutely right. So the other two levers you really get to pull, he says, are your dates and your scope control. This was an extreme scope control. Do we need this? Absolutely. Do we need this? Absolutely. I think the answer is no. The game has been successful and exciting and made a huge splash without it. But on the bright side, it's coming, right? So think about what he's saying. This is just brilliance, right? And it speaks so much to maybe one of the reasons I get so frustrated. A lot of people are like, you don't like big budget. I love big budget games. I got no problem with big budget games. My most anticipated game of 2022 until the reviews came out was Callisto Protocol. And in no small part because of how it looked and looked like it controlled and the gore and all the production value. Okay, so I'm in. I get the value. But what Brode is saying, I think what I parse from it is that he's like, look, if the game, if you know what your core is, if you know what the game's reason to exist is, and you can put all your energy, or that always should get all your energy, or your lion's share. Everything else is a co-star, or even worse, not worse, but further out a cameo, right? The fact that they said, yes, of course, people want that. Just like, of course, people want, I don't know, great graphics, but they'd probably rather have great gameplay. Nintendo can attest to this. The latest Pokemon can attest to this, right? Do they want PvP? Sure. Or PvE friendly P? Yeah, of course. But look how massive this game has been without it, right? The game without it is still a huge, massive fucking hit. And I think it's important. I mean, again, it kind of pushes a little bit against what the other guy was saying, which is can't be dogmatic, and you've got to balance the needs of the business. So if you are making like a game like Last of Us, you have to know part of the appeal of that game are the graphics, just is the production value. That's what that is. It's one of the reasons Sony is in a not unsustainable place when it comes to those kinds of games, because the very thing that makes them special, or one of the very things, is going up in cost. And it's going to be impossible when the audience isn't really growing for it. But whatever, a different conversation. But I just think this is important if you want to think about game design or make games. The crunch lever is interesting as well. But the fact that he's basically saying, we put a game out that was nominated multiple times for Game of the Year, multiple Game of the Year. It's a huge success already, financial success already. And they got there by knowing the essence of what their game was. And they didn't sit there and load it with a bunch of fucking baked potato shit that nobody wants to eat on the baked potato anyway, but it looked like a full product. That's some brilliance right there, man. Some fucking brilliance. Solid Python says, I love the new Pokemon, even with all the jank. Right? Absolutely right. 100%. Truck 4x48. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't get to see your thing come down because I was having some bugs with the Streamlabs thing. Did we see it? I don't know if we saw it or not. But regardless, though, thank you, buddy, for joining the Diet Soda Soldiers truck. I appreciate that. I'm going to give you, what am I going to give you? I'm going to give you a little smoke of the pipe. The Queen of England, when she died, I snuck over to the funeral. I stuck this into her bum, and I pulled out some fecal paste, and I made it into a tobacco. And this goes for you, sir. Thank you so much for joining the Diet Soda Soldiers and supporting this crazy dreamster. I appreciate it. 4x48. Thank you, truck. Okay. Anyway, so if, there's some wisdom here. Some fucking wisdom here. Dozier, designer in the chat. What do you think? New Pokemon, he says, is so good. Do you agree with me or you disagree? I don't have to be right, but I'm, as a guy who's designed games, I'm telling you, between what this guy said and the Mirror's Edge guy, Frederick Thylander, said, there's some fucking wisdom here you should pay attention to. I'm not going to give you a summary. King of Nerddom, what is the matter with you? He says, Jaffe, can you give me a quick summary of your take on J.K. Rowling? I wasn't there when you were talking on that. That is like going, not that I'm Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon, but that's like going to the Tonight Show and they bring out, here's Harry Styles to talk about his latest album. And then after Harry Styles, they bring on I don't fucking know. They bring out the guy, Anderson Cooper from CNN, whatever. And somebody in the audience stands up and says, hey, Jimmy, I was late. I was in the bathroom. I ate some bad tacos this afternoon. Could you bring out Harry Styles again? Just fucking rewind it. I'm not going to go into the goddamn thing again. No, he says, what? I don't want to go back. Just sit through the whole thing. I just want to know your quick take. fuck you, my quick take. My quick take is it's a show. Go back when it's time stamped and look at it, you old so-and-so. That's all I'll say to that. Fuck with me. That leads us into, hang on a second. We don't have I might move some of these because The Last of Us is starting at, is it 5, 6, 7, 8? Starting at 6. I didn't get triggered, you fuck. I did not compare myself to Jimmy Fallon in terms of success or talent. I'm saying structure-wise in the show, Lando, you fuckstick. Hang on. I'll save it. I'll save that. Let's talk about, I'm going to move this to tomorrow. I wanted to play a little bit of the Adam Sessler interview from The Biggest Problem, but I think we can make that its own meal sometime tomorrow. So you can rewind. You can rewind in Realski says, he said rewind in real life. Haha. Yeah. On YouTube, you can go back. You can go back. Even when the show's live. We'll look at this in the next show because I think this is worth discussing. But here's what I want to close with. The after show chat legends for Last of Us is right after the show. So the show goes on at 6:00 here in California. And it, right when it's over, I'll be live streaming for about an hour, just taking people's calls and, chatting with you guys about it. Can I get your quick take on J.K. Rowling? Well, at least Carlos paid for it. My quick take on, thank you, buddy. You whoever that was owes you. My quick take on J.K. Rowling is, I don't disagree with her views at all. Or I don't agree with her views at all. I disagree with her take when it comes to LGBT stuff. But she has a right to have them as long as she's not spending the money and we have no evidence. And somebody said we did. And I said, send me a link and I haven't seen it. As long as, we have no evidence that she's spending money directly on causes that harm trans people or LGBT people or what have you. What do I care? People have a right to stupid opinions. There you go. This is funny. For Sizzle says, we get it. We all agree with you. I'm literally responding to a guy who paid me money to answer the question. I'm not hitting you over the head with it just for fun, you fuck. Come on now. Truck, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says, what happened to Midway Games? Listen, when we started Sony Santa Monica, the first game we were really close to making was called, at the time we were going to call it, we called it like the working name was Whitewater, right? But it was basically a game about America where only white people are allowed to drink. I'm kidding. That's not true. That would be horrible. But it was a Whitewater inner tube game. And we thought with the physics of the PS2 and the water looking so cool, it would be fucking awesome. And we were very inspired by Midway. We looked at, Ready to Rumble and Turbo. What was the Turbo water game they did? Whatever it's called, Turbo Wave or whatever. All of their very arcadey pick up and play games. We were very inspired to build our studio around that. In fact, the motto of our studio was called, at least for a while, was fun games that sell. People were like, that's a dumb vision statement. It's like, why? It's like, we want to make fun games and we want them to be commercial. Hydro Thunder, that's what it's called. Thank you, fellas. So I loved it. But what ended up happening, and you could really see it, I've talked about this just really pivotal E3 before, where it was the PlayStation 2 had been announced and it was on the floor with the launch games. And it was the Dreamcast second year where they had the booth to die for. It was the best, most fun E3 booth I'd ever been to. It was Samba de Amigo was there and they had toy soldiers there. And I forget the specifics, but they had just arcade game after arcade game after arcade game on the Dreamcast that looked and played brilliantly. And I remember going, we're fucked. We can't compete with that. Well, what ended up happening was, in no small part because of PlayStation 2 and its cinematic games and its bigger games and its RPGs and stuff, the kind of games Midway made really sort of went out of fashion, even to the point that I remember there was an executive they brought on at Midway, and his whole thing, they were going to do like a Las Vegas GTA kind of game. And they were really going to try to become the Rockstar of America in terms of the Rockstar developer, where they were making games that were really tied into pop culture in terms of theme and story and narrative and all that stuff. And none of them ever worked. And then they just went out of business. So it was probably a story of a company that couldn't keep doing what they were doing, at least at that scope. You know, iPhones weren't out yet. You couldn't make games like that yet. But they weren't successful in transitioning to the more modern definition of what a AAA game is. I mean, Ubisoft even was called out by executives this week. They had a terrible quarter. And one of the executives said, you know, right now, the problem is the reason that you've got EA and Activision and a couple of these other big companies that can make it right now is they have a live service game that takes care of everything, even if everything else tanks. And Ubisoft has not been able to crack that. So is it possible that Ubisoft goes away as well? Possibly, because it seems so far they've been unable to transition. But we'll talk about that on the next show. But anyway, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Okay, so it's 5 o'clock here. Last of Us starts in an hour. Let's do this. I am going to save the topic of there's some Ubisoft stuff, there's some Gran Turismo stuff, there's the Adam Sessler stuff, and I also do want to talk about these predictions that Games Radar has put out for 2023 as they relate to a lot of stuff that I think are really fucking cool. So what we'll do right now is let's just do, I'm going to get the super chat that I missed, and then why don't we just shoot the shit for about 10 minutes. I'll turn on the red phone if you want to call live. Let me do that first, and then I'll get the super chat, and then we'll just talk about whatever you want to talk about for about 10, 15 minutes. Hang on, I got to turn on this red phone. It's not on yet. It takes a minute. Oh my God. Did you guys see that? Did you guys save the clock tower? I love that. Did you guys see that plane crash that was caught on the guy's cell phone? I think it was in Nepal, and it was this guy was just filming his friends on the plane. And, you know, if you watch one of the videos of the plane crash that was from outside, external, the plane was coming in for landing, and then it just goes, I mean, something obviously happened. Really, Jaffe. But I mean, you know, it's like a malfunction, like just instant. And it was, you know, but on the cell phone of the guy inside, and he was live streaming it. That's why we have it. Obviously, the phone was destroyed, but he was live streaming it on Facebook. And I don't think anyone's captured this except like the FAA doing tests and shit. He's live streaming it, and everyone's happy and laughing. And almost an instant later, there's like and you hear just some sound, and then suddenly there's just fire everywhere. And then you hear a thud, clearly when the plane hit, but that, you know, wasn't that high up, but they were dead before it hit because it was fire everywhere. It was, well, Lando says, I don't think I can watch that. It wasn't like, you didn't hear anybody screaming. You didn't see body parts. It wasn't gory, right? It wasn't that at all. What was almost more chilling about it was the fact that it was just so instant, and it was so much fire that it was almost like you watch it, and in some ways you go, well, maybe they didn't suffer. When people say that, you're like, well, maybe they're saying that to be nice, but maybe they really didn't suffer, because I mean, it seemed lickety fucking split, man. All right, 619-752-0548 if you want to call in. Alexa, cancel all timers. Alexa, cancel all alarms. Alexa, set timer for 16 minutes. Okay. So you can call in. You don't have to call in. You can chat, whatever you want to do. There we go. Hola, it is Jaffe. What's going on, man?
What's going on?
Oh, Lord P. Turtle. Hang on a second. Nathan, thank you for being a member for 1 month. Have I seen the Banshees of Inner Sharon yet, or however you say it? No, I wanted to see it because the trailer looked great and everyone's saying it's movie of the year. But then I heard it's actually really fucking depressing. Okay, Pete Turtle, I don't have a lot of time. So you got 2 minutes. Go. What's got, bud?
Always say that every time I call.
What's that?
I said you always say that every time I call.
Because you are an acquired taste. And listen to me, you and I are going to do a show. Do you have time this week to do a Jaffe Pete Turtle discussion? You pick 3 topics. I pick 3 topics. When can you commit to that this week sometime?
Thursday. I think I can do Thursday. What time works you?
Okay, let's say Thursday at 2 p.m. Pacific.
Well, what time was that?
2 p.m. California time. Are you in New York, right?
Yeah.
That's 5 o'clock for you.
Okay.
Thursday, 5 o'clock. I'll talk to you then, Pete Turtle. Come loaded and hit me up on Discord or Twitter because I want to know your topics ahead of time, and I'm going to give you my topics ahead of time.
Fair enough. Can I call for The Last of Us tonight? Or are you going to rush?
Yeah. No. You can call for that, of course. We'll talk about that when it's on or when it's over.
All right, cool.
All right, see you, bud.
All right.
All right, so if you like I know not everybody likes the P Turtle. A lot of people do. I enjoy talking to him sometimes, but depending on what he's talking about. But so that's what we're going to do. What do you mean the audio is broken? Is he too loud? Tell me, Tripster, what do you mean the audio is broken? But what I'll say to you, though, is a lot of people love it when P Turtle calls in. And so I'm just going to do a show with him this week. It'll be Thursday. Hang on. Alexa, remind me Wednesday that tomorrow at 2 p.m. I have a P Turtle show. 2 p.m. Okay. You can't hear him that good. Okay. If somebody calls in, I'll turn him up more. Sorry about that. All right. What do you guys want to talk about for a little bit? Yeah. Roasted Justice saw that plane crash. He says the wings of the plane buckle and the plane tilts 90 degrees, then impact. I mean, and the strangest thing is, about that is that, understandably, everybody gets so much of their shit from movies and TV that in a movie, there's like, you hear a sound and then you look over and they cut to somebody you're looking at. It's like, what was that? It's fine. It's drama. But when you watch this, which is the most guerrilla filmmaking you'll ever see, it's just live. No one was putting on a show. And there was no warning. There was no warning. It was just instantly before, or an instant before shit went bad. They were just these guys laughing on a plane, and they were coming in for a landing. They thought, okay, we got to get our car. Then are you going to go to the hotel first? I mean, it's how slice of lifey. And then boom, it's just done. It's kind of fascinating, and horrible. Stop fucking with my Alexa, Jaffe, says George. Thank you for being a member for the Cult Calypsos for 15 fucking months, buddy. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate that very, very much. Oh, it fell into a ravine. I saw that, the plane. Okay, Jaffe, I'm a chemist in aerospace. Now, this is getting me thinking what the issue could be, says Kamikaze Crunch. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you would know more than I. It doesn't sound, I mean, what do I fuck? It doesn't sound like it with the bomb. I don't know what it was, but it seems like it was one of those kind of malfunctions that wasn't like something blew up, like a bomb. It felt like, I don't know how planes work, but it felt like, the pilot did a turn and the gizmo that regulates the turn just was offline or snapped or whatever. And that one little turn was just like, and it was over. It was crazy. It's crazy. That's not a movie set loose. Set loose is what movie you guys talking about? No, it was a plane crash that happened today in Nepal. Not a movie at all. It was really, you know what? Speaking of movies though, Mr. K sent me a trailer, for a movie that a lot of people are getting excited about, and it'll be on Shudder soon. Have you seen this trailer for Skinamarink? I have not been scared of horror movies and horror trailers since I was probably, 10. And I never get scared in movies. And I watched this trailer and I wasn't like, I'm not going to watch this, too scary. But I was like, I'm debating if I want to be high when I watch this movie because this trailer fucking scared me. Would you like to see the trailer? Should I put the trailer on as the last thing we do today? You guys want to watch this trailer that scares your old Papa Jaffe? You let me know. You let me know. It's good. It's good. It's a blow pop. Haven't seen Megan yet. Want to see it, Salvador. But I'll tell you, that's the thing. It's like Megan and all these other horror movies are great. I love them. But they're so corporate. Like Megan looks like fun, but it doesn't look like, oh my God, I'm going to be scared. Right? It just kind of looks like, it's a stupid, fun horror movie. All right. This looks terrifying. Okay. I'm going to put it up for us. Hang on. This is compliments of, let me pause it first. Get all set up. This is compliments of Mr. K. This will be on Shudder soon. Hello, Rob the Mod. Hey, it's Jaffe.
Hey, Jaffe, what's going on?
What's up?
Say Lou.
Hey, man, say Lou. I've been saying it right. Good. What's going on, buddy?
Yeah, no, it's the first time calling, though. Just never call, and it seems like, hey, this might be a good time to call.
Oh.
I just want to, just to see what you think of 2023 of the games that's releasing. Like, I know 2022 had, like, good games, Horizon, Elden Ring, stuff like that. But what do you think about next year? What is your actually games coming out?
One moment. I got to turn up your volume.
Oh, yeah, you're good.
No, I'm not sure why you're so low.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, hang on. Can you guys hear him now? Can you say something, say Lou?
Yeah. Hello?
Is that better, you guys? Okay. 2023. Okay. Well, I will tell you. I'm going to stop eating. One sec. I will tell you. I'm not super interested in Tears of the Kingdom, the new Zelda movie. I just movie game. I just kind of like, I know a lot of people are excited about it. That's great, but I don't.
Yeah, I feel the same as you too about that because I feel like Nintendo Switch is just such a old hardware. Like, what new things can they do for that game though? That
Well,
like
I don't think hardware is what would be holding it back, at least game design wise for the most part. I think for me it's more. I'm a huge Zelda fan with the 2D Zeldas. I've never really liked the 3D Zeldas. I think there are much better open world 3D games out there. The Zelda games always feel very bloated to me. So I'm not really looking forward to that one. I'm very much looking forward to the Dead Space remake, especially now given that Callisto seems like it shat the bed. I'm sure there's a bunch of smaller indie games that just aren't on the tip of my brain coming. What is Spider-Man 2, if that comes out, of course.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Spider-Man 2. I actually have a hot take on about Callisto. I beat that game. I got it first day it came out. It's not a bad game though, like people say it is. I really feel like
which game?
Callisto.
Oh, right. Yeah, I hear it's not a bad game. I don't really want to fucking spend $70 on it. It seems like a great game.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah,
$30.
It's a really short game though. It is a really short game, so I would definitely not pay. Yeah, like if you ask me now if I want to buy it for $70 for like the game that is now, it's like that probably won't probably on sale.
Right. Yeah, I'm waiting for that to drop, and I'm waiting for Gotham Knights to drop to something like $30 or $20, like Mass Produce is saying. Silent Hill, I'm curious about. I've been burned so many times by Team Bloober because they've made one game that I love, which is Layers of Fear, and everything else has been kind of not great. And so I don't have a lot of faith, but I'm certainly curious about it. I'm trying to think if
do you trust what's the team that's making it?
Team Bloober. No, I don't. I find them consistently average other than Layers of Fear.
Yeah, when they first announced that too, I was like really happy. It's like, oh hey, new Silent Hill, awesome. Like can't wait for what it is. And then when they showed the trailer and then it was blooper, it was like, he just kind of
Right.
went down for me a little bit.
Right.
Like,
There's a lot more
yeah.
interesting indie games being made in horror than that. So, all right, buddy, call back anytime. I got to run. We're going to show this trailer and then we're going to head off into the night to get ready for Last of Us. But it's good to talk to you live. Call back anytime.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for taking my call.
All right, buddy. All right, there he goes, fellas. All right, let's take a look at this trailer. Oh, let me get the super chat. Nathan, thank you, buddy. He says, I was here for J.K. Rowling's chat, but I wasn't listening. Fuck you. Can I get another full summary? Yes. So here's what it is. J.K. Rowling has a anal dildo shaped like a guy named Nathan Nielsen. And what she likes to do with it is ram it up her tuchus 20 times while she's running around the Warner Brothers backlot saying, I should have been Hermione. I should have been Hermione. I should have been Hermione. And the way that you know that you have a Nathan Nielsen, J.K. Rowling dildo sighting is because she's not really that experienced with the anal. There's a lot of little blood droplets that are, trailing off behind her as she runs. And if you catch her before they throw her off, this is all allegedly, of course, if you catch her before they throw her off the lot, even though they'll always let her back on because she's J.K. Rowling, you will actually get to purchase for $50 the Nathan Nielsen used dildo. There you go. Listen, let's watch this trailer here. This is for a brand new movie called Skinamarink. I'm saying it wrong. I have to be. This is in theaters right now. It'll be on Shudder in a couple of weeks, I believe. Okay, here we go.
In this house. In this house. In this house. In this house. In this house.
Now, will we be watching this on the goddamn pot and popcorn? Yes. I also want to show you one last thing before we go. I got this from Spazbo. This is the next pot and popcorn. You goddamn right. If you remember, it'll be coming up next week. Well, this week in the next 7 days. But I got to show you this fucking thing. This is I'd never heard of this, and I am all over this. What the fuck is this, fellas? I don't know, but here it is. This is called Robo Geisha, and Spazbo suggested it, and I am in love with it. I want to see very badly. Here we go.
Geishert. Shabaretka. Geishert. Voodoo. Geisha with white. Geishert. What?
地獄へ追い
Come on, man.
Masingar gift. Rural village world. Masingar VFX. Just cover.
Come on, man.
Toca guapos. Usihiro Nishimura. Geisha Masa. Geisha Dance. Geisha Ari. Geisha Chainsaw. Geisha Hurricane. Geisha Katana. Geisha Dwarf. Samurai Warlock. Geisha Masashi.
Yeah, in this geisha, right?
Fly to shrimp. There we run.
Oh, no.
She's a robot.
Is that blood?
How did that go? Fast velocity.
Oh, my God.
Haida Nugate, Yoga Kiatakiro. Golden Iceland and Western. Eva, Geisha Shimai Yoga. Soldiers with action.
If I knew you can make movies like this, I would have made movies.
The wall of the Geisha Beggars.
Oh, that's ever.
I am Kikuchi. Robo Geisha.
Come on. Hey, right on time. Alexa, stop. All right, fellas. So that will be the next Pot and Popcorn, which will be coming up. What's it? Today's Sunday. It'll be this coming Saturday, I believe, along with a double feature of something else, but I don't know what yet. In the meantime, here's the deal. What did you just jerk off to? Right. Please watch Tokyo Gore Police. Thank you, Instant Messenger. We've watched it before. We've actually, thank you for the super chat, buddy. We've watched Tokyo Gore Police on one of the previous, and I thought it was great. You know what's funny is Japan comes at me and says, you know, we think Twisted Metal is a little too violent. Could you have the cars shoot vegetables and tomatoes? And I'm like, motherfucker, I just saw the trailer for Geisha Robot or whatever the fuck it's called. Fuck you. Last of Us, yes, I will be watching Last of Us tonight. If you're curious where I will be watching it, swing by the Discord and I'll tell people where I'm watching it, just if they're curious. And then that said, right after we were going to be doing a live talk about it, you can call in with your thoughts on the show. It's only going to run for an hour, but that'll be right after the show. And then after that, tomorrow night, I will be on, I think it's at 5 or 4. I'll send out a tweet. Cody Leach, the great horror YouTuber, Cody Leach, has a show with me and him talking about episode 1, along with a very special guest that, oh my fucking God, here's a hint. If you've been to a previous Pot and Popcorn in the last 5 months and you enjoyed it, you'll recognize somebody from the Pot and Popcorn. That's all I'm fucking saying. Fellas, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the memberships. Thank you for the conversation. I very, Jim Ryan. I very, very much appreciate it. Check out the link tree below for all of our very generous sponsors, and hoping to see you guys very soon. Be well, everybody. Enjoy Last of Us.